Hi, my name is Stephanie Giard, Marketing Director at Geospatial Experts. Thanks for joining us. We're here today to talk to you about using GeoJot Plus for field data collection and report generation on engineering projects. The webinar will be kept to 20 minutes, but there will be a Q&A section at the end for those of you who want to stay. So feel free to type in any questions into the Q&A section of your GoToWebinar toolbar at any time. After I give my short presentation, Tyler McGarity, who's our Technical Account Manager, will be doing a demo of GeoJot Plus. So GeoJot Plus is a full solution that takes you from field data collection all the way to final client reports. Collect data with the hardware you already have, iPhones, Android tablets, and then create maps, reports, watermark photos, really any kind of output you need for your projects. We created GeoJot Plus in 2011, but we've been in the business of GPS field data collection for much longer. Since 2001, we've been the leader in photo-based GPS data collection, and here are just a few examples of the thousands of Geospatial Experts customers worldwide. And our products are also carried by resellers around the globe. But enough about us. You came to hear about data collection for engineering projects. It seems that most of our engineering customers are working on very similar projects across the country, and I will go over a few of those kind of projects right now. So collecting data for stormwater pollution prevention inspections. I always have a hard time saying that. So one of the things that gets people really excited about using GeoJot for these projects is they're out there doing things that are wet and muddy, and they don't have to have pens or paper or cameras. They're hauling a lot of equipment out into the fields. We have forms for collecting this kind of data in our library, so you can start with those or you can create your own from scratch. We also capture the direction you're facing when you're taking your photos out in the field, and we've been told by many customers that that's very important to them. You can quickly create your client reports that meet state requirements, and also we have some of our clients who make overview maps to show contractors where they were out in the field. Another example of projects that people use GeoJot Plus for are Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental site assessments. And GeoJot is great because it allows you to give a very clear visual documentation of field conditions. So you're collecting your photos and your data about the hydrological conditions, and people can actually see what you were seeing. You document the inspection of the subject property and surrounding areas. So these photos that you're capturing, not only can they see them visually, but they're also geolocated so they can see them on a map, and you have all that form data that you collected with them. And then you can create your customized PDF attachment to put at the end of your report. Wetland delineation is another kind of project that we see around the country and actually around the world from different engineering firms. So let's see here. So once again, no more printed Excel forms that they're taking out into the field. The photos help to support the presence or absence of the 3 wetland criteria. Users can quickly transfer licenses between different employees and different devices out in the field, and you can create those reports, Google Earth maps, ArcGIS layers, really anything you need. The last example that I'm going to go into in any detail is the avian field study. So accuracy and consistency is a big motivator for using GeoJot Plus on these projects. The point data that's collected is collected, and then those results are extrapolated to the entire plot, and so the quality of those initial data points is really critical for the statistical analysis. So now with GeoJot, instead of dealing with wet Excel forms, people are able to, everybody's using the exact same form all the time. You're able to digitally synchronize those forms to everyone's phones and tablets, and you aren't trying to interpret chicken scratch on those wet Excel forms back in the office. The data is uploaded via the cloud back to the office where you can do your processing and create your reports. And actually, when the data comes down, you can sort that data by forms to create your reports. So GeoJot Plus is also used on many other kinds of engineering projects, such as culvert inventories, transmission line surveys, pipeline surveys, and a whole lot more. So as I said earlier, not only does GeoJot Plus make things easier in the field, but also back in the office. So it eliminates all those paper forms. Nobody's trying to interpret somebody else's chicken scratch on damp papers back in the office, and then trying to manually put that data in, in the computer. Lots of places where errors can be introduced, and those are all removed when you use GeoJot. GeoJot will run on the equipment that your employees already have, so Apple and Android mobile devices. And really, most people these days are comfortable using a smartphone. And GeoJot Plus is as easy as taking a photo with the smartphone and tablet. Some of our engineering companies are purchasing identical tablets for all of their employees, and others have their employees actually use their own phones so they don't have to do the capital expenditure for the hardware. So as I was saying, not only does it work on most equipment, but it's also easy. So it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You collect the data, you transfer it back to the office via the cloud, and then back in the office you create your maps, reports, and any other output that you need. So it's really about getting the maximum results with minimal effort. We have people who are training their inspectors or their field engineers to use GeoJots in 10 minutes. We have some people who have trained people over the phone to use GeoJot. It allows you to quickly and accurately collect the data you need. The data, it all makes sense to people. I'm taking a photo and then I'm explaining what's in the photo. So it's very people to understand what they're doing, so that if they only use GeoJot every couple of days or every couple of weeks, they can pick it up and just use it very quickly and easily. And you can transfer the license between users and devices. An administrator can do that back in the office. So data, after you've collected the data out in the field, you can set it up so that it's automatically transferred back to the office via the cloud. If you're worried about data overages, you can set it so it will only send when there's Wi-Fi coverage, and if you choose to do that, or if you're just out in a place where there's no coverage at all, the data is actually put into a queue, and then when you're back into coverage, it'll go, that queued data will come up to the cloud. And then you can rename and organize photos automatically as they're being transferred via the cloud. So now a little bit about the output. So the back end of the GeoJot Plus system runs on a PC, allowing office staff to review the data before creating the output. So you're able to create almost any kind of output you could imagine, and there's always room for custom development if you don't see exactly what you need. So how are our customers really using the output? They're creating appendices to stormwater pollution prevention inspection reports, Phase 1 and Phase 2 reports, watermarked photos to include in culvert inspections, and archiving the data after a project is complete. So my task was to give you a brief overview of the system, and I've tried to stay under 5 minutes, but I didn't make it. I'm about 8. But anyway, I'm handing this off to Tyler for a quick live demo, and then after that, we'll talk to you about the next steps. So here we go, Tyler.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, I'm going to handle the demonstration portion. My name is Tyler McGarity. I'm the Technical Account Manager here at Geospatial Experts. GeoJot is a system that can be used for all kinds of data collection. We have a wide variety of clients that use it in a multitude of ways. We're going to focus a little bit on the engineering side of things today, and I have a culvert form set up. I'm going to show you how you would process a culvert inventory through the core software. Before we get into capturing data, I'd like to show how the form editor works. We do have forms available that you can download from our site for different engineering projects, and once you have these forms, you can modify them for your own usage, however you might need them, and build new ones for yourself if we don't have one that matches exactly what you're doing. To do that, you go into the form editor here in Core. Core is the desktop software, and you can create one by just starting to add fields, putting in field descriptions, putting in values in the drop-down list. But I'm going to open an already created one here, the one we'll be using for the culverts. So this is going to show you that we have several different fields here. You can order these any way you'd like just by shifting them up and down within the form editor. So material, you can see over here a drop-down list has been created for whether it's reinforced concrete or whether it's PVC, different kinds of material. This can be manually entered one at a time. You can also already have a pre-created list in like Word and drag it and drop it in here, or in Excel. You can actually create all of these categories in an Excel form and import from Excel, which is something we have some other videos online about how to do that. Fairly easy to do. So what you can do is figure out the fields that you need to collect out in the field, and you can choose whether they're required or not. So if they're required, there's going to be an asterisk next to them, and people won't be able to complete the form until they have filled out all that data. You can choose whether you want to allow typing. That will allow people to enter things that aren't necessarily on your drop-down list. You can choose to retain value. So if I was going to be somewhere where I knew I was going to have one of these values that was repeated from form to form, I wouldn't have to go and enter it every time. If I turned on retain value, I would enter it the first time, and then subsequent uses of the form after I took new pictures would keep that same value in the field. We also have an auto increment feature, which allows you to start at a number and it will add 1 to that number every time. You can set up a default value, so if more often than not something is going to be a default piece of information, if it's mostly always a 4-inch pipe, I could put 4 inches in there as my default value, and then unless I selected something else, it would carry that default value. And you can put descriptions in. So the description will pop up above the actual information that you're going to collect, and you can make this an instruction. So, you know, I could put in here, list the type of material used for the culvert. And any of these things, once you're done, you can save it and send it out to your field workers. You can put it in a shared cloud folder and let them download it, or you can email it to them. You can also lock the forms here, which allows you to keep all of this information from being able to be edited in the field. You can edit forms in the field if they're not locked, so you may leave it off, and then users in the field can customize things if they need to make tweaks or change anything. So that gives you an idea of how the form editor works, and now I can show you how we collect data. Once again, GeoJot's very simple to use. We always capture the user information in the photo, so whoever has logged in on this phone into GeoJot, that information is always written to the photo. We also always capture photo direction, so whatever way you're facing is always captured. And then we can also capture lat and long, of course, and altitude, your GPS accuracy listed there. Inside, I'm doing about 30 feet. Outdoors with Android or iOS devices, you can probably do plus or minus 3 to 5 meters. We do support you connecting an external GPS unit if you need to get a higher accuracy than that. So there's units like the Juniper GeoJot or the Trimble R1 that can connect to these devices and get you down to sub-meter accuracy out in the field if you have that requirement. We also have the ability in here to, you can change what exactly you're displaying on the screen here. So we also will collect address information. So there's a reverse geocoding function. So if you're out there collecting information, it will collect the nearest address and write that to it as well. So what you're going to do when you go into GeoJot, you have your form selected. You can have as many forms as you'd like loaded into the device. You can see there's several in here. I'm using the culvert form. Once you have your form loaded up, you can go here, snap a photo. It'll advance you to your form, and you fill out the data that you need to fill out. Pretty simple, straightforward. You can go through here, fill out all this information, and then once you've filled it out, you say done. It advances you back. You can take another picture. If you want to take a look at the data you've collected, you can go to the camera roll. It'll show you here the pictures that you've taken. You can take a look at the photo itself, take a look at where the location is, where you captured the photo, and you can go through and QC any form data that was in here. You can see the little cloud with the check mark means that it's been uploaded to the cloud. I'm hooked up to Dropbox via the app here, and that information has now already been sent back to the office. So within the actual app itself, there is some settings we'll take a look at here. You can set up things like how the camera is performing, whether it's renaming the photos, what size of picture it's capturing if you want to reduce the picture size, whether you want to preview photos so that you make sure that you get the best possible photo before you save it, whether you're using internal or external storage. All of that can be set up in there. There's various cloud options, so you can come in here and set your provider. You can set your path and subfolder. That allows the picture to get routed into a particular place. So if I wanted to make sure that I had all of my culverts that were marked as poor in their own folder, I could set a subfolder of condition. Then in my cloud, I would have an overall project folder called Culvert Project, and then underneath it, I would have subfolders for each of the chosen conditions. So I'd have excellent, good, fair, poor, and I could open any of those to see exactly what was in those folders that was coming in from the field. We also have the ability here to set your GPS accuracy. So if you don't want people taking photos that are 300 feet off, you can set a required accuracy level, and it will let them know that they're not within that required accuracy. They may have to wait a little bit for it to settle. And then you can also choose your coordinate system in here. And in advanced, you can do group photos, which allows you to take multiple photos and then fill out a form just once. Each photo has its own lat and long coordinates, but can have it has its own individual lat and long coordinates, but will have one form data associated with it. We also support barcode scanning on both iOS and Android, so you can turn that on. That allows you to scan barcodes into fields. And Laser Connect, that allows you to connect on to the TruePulse laser series. On the Android side, it can be the 200X or the 360B or the 360R. On the iOS side, it's the 200X. And you can shoot distances to targets and have that offset distance written right into the picture. And then you can shoot different measurements, whether it's height or span, and feed that directly into fields inside of the app. So there's lots of features in here. We have other videos about setting up the app, and of course we can answer any questions you have about this after the video or offline. But once you've taken those pictures and they've been sent back to the field, sent back to the office, they get processed through GeoJot Core. So I'm going to show you here, GeoJot Core. We've already been in here for the form editor. GeoJot Core has a list of all your projects that you've done in here in the project manager, so you can open older projects or create new ones from in here. And I'll show you the culvert project. So here I have a bunch of sample photos of culverts that have been captured. The first tab is just where you import the photos and take a look at what you have. The second tab is a geotag. This allows you, if you've had somebody run like a track log, say like they were collecting points with a Garmin that they had while taking photos with like a DSLR, you could take both of those pieces of information, the track log and all of the photos, and marry them together so that the photos had spatial coordinates that match with the track log based on time. So the geotag wizard is in here in case you have photos that were taken with non-GPS enabled devices. The data editor tab allows you to do a couple of different things. One, you can see where your pictures were taken on an overview map and the direction that they were taken in. You can zoom in here, see the different locations. You can move photos if you need to. You can also, on the data tab here, see what information was collected with them. So I can see here the different pieces of information that were collected out in the field, the location, and title, subject, comment, description. I can edit any of this information in here if I need to, if something isn't correct. So this allows me to go through QC, QA, all this. There's a photo editor tab, so if I want, I can go through and edit photos. In this case, I have like a liner separation that was going on, so I added this circle. You click the oval tool up here, and you can add that into the photo. That'll be written to your output photos for your reports. The watermark tab allows you to write information from any of the fields onto the photo. So you just pick with a check mark what you want to add and then choose its location here. And that's where it'll be written to all of the photos. You can also add logos from this tab. So choose their transparency level. So I have a logo added down here in the corner. Then you move on to shared output settings. This is where you set up the meat of your output as far as what photo sizes you want to use coming out, whether or not you want to have a title page, how you want that to lay out, the maps you're going to use as background maps. So you can choose here from Google or ArcGIS Online or USGS. You can also set up your own custom maps if you have MXD or MPK files or maps sent to a REST service. So from ArcGIS, you can have those maps used as your background maps. The field table tab allows you to pick which of the fields you're going to output as a table. So all of the output is based on a table, whether you're creating a shapefile or a KML or a CSV. So this is the information that you choose to put out and the order you choose to put it out in. So you can lay all that out in here. And then there's a final place where you can rename photos. You can rename photos as you send them from the field into the office, but you may want to rename them to a standard nomenclature for your archiving purposes, which you can do here. You can select how you want them separated and what you want to rename the photo, and then save it. And then the Select Output tab, this is where you choose what outputs you're going to create. We support a wide variety of outputs, and we'll show you some examples of those. So here we have a standard report. Standard report is the overview map, picture, couple background maps that you've chosen, and then your attribute table. So you can go through and check those. We also support a condensed report. So this is one photo, one background map, and the table per page. These are the various kinds of paper reports we support, and you can set those up any way that you'd like. We also support the KML output. This is great for people that don't have a GIS system necessarily as a deliverable. They can see where you collected information. If they click on it, they can see the photo, they can see the information that you collected, and really easy to deliver. We support KML or KMZ files so that you can send it off to somebody. We also do the standard flat table. Here is a CSV file. This is still one of our most popular outputs. You can integrate this flat table into anything. Once it's in Excel, it's easy to move this data around and do whatever you need to with it. And then, of course, the shapefile. We will write to a geodatabase, so it can be a file geodatabase, a personal geodatabase, or we'll write to an SDE. We can also create shape files for layers to add to a project. So when you install GeoJot, it will install this toolbar into ARC. And if I use the toolbar and hover over the points in ARC, I'll see the picture I took, some of that information that comes along with it. I can choose how much and what information from my table is displayed below the picture. So that is how it gets integrated to ARC. And then we also support an HTML output, which can be pushed up to an FTP site or your website. That allows you to have an instant deliverable. Somebody can come and hop on and take a look at pictures that were taken, maps, and that same information. We create it in the HTML format, so all it has to be doing is pushed up to a website and it's ready to go. So that gives you an idea of the kind of outputs we can create. Now I know there's a lot of settings in here and it looks a bit daunting sometimes, but once you get this project set up the way that you like it, you can come in here to the project manager, you can click the add as a template box, and then when you start new projects in the future, you can use your template. So for future culvert projects, you can use the culvert template. It will maintain all of those settings for how you want things watermarked, what outputs you want, what the renaming structure is. All of that information will be retained, and you can just import new photos, process them through, and then you're able to move on to doing the project much quicker than the initial time. And of course, with that initial setup, we are always willing to help you get things set up the way that you need to, and we have a lot of information online available about that. And we do have a free trial for GeoJot, so anybody that's interested in checking this out, they can go to our website, download the GeoJot trial. That'll give you a chance to take a look at the program. You can play around with some of our existing information we have, like forms and projects, and check it out in a real-world scenario where you go out and collect some data, process it through, and see how it works for you. Okay, excellent. So what are the next steps? We can do a short live demo for anyone that's interested. If you contact us at Geospatial Experts, we can set up a demo to show you and your team exactly how it works and answer any kind of questions you may have. Try it on a project. Of course, you can go ahead and download it and take it out in the field. If you want to use it on a real project, you can download the trial, shoot me an email, say, hey, I'm going to have this many people out in the field for this long, and I can make it a full version. Our trial version limits to 10 photos and watermarks. So if you want to go out and do like a real world trial, let me know, Tyler at geospatialexperts.com. I'll put up my contact information in a second here, and I can go ahead and make sure that it works for you fully. You can request our engineering forms. You can send me an email, or you can go to our website. If you go to our website, we have an engineering section that highlights some of the different kind of engineering assessments that we've had clients do, and also has a link to a zip file with several different engineering forms in it. So you can go there and check out those use cases and the forms. And then you know, if you're a larger organization and you need to have a private webinar where we go through how to set up the program and how to go through workflow out in the field, we can set those up for whatever kind of time you have available. All right, I'm going to put my contact information up in the screen, and then we're going to go ahead and answer some questions.